Unit 7. Communicate with customers in writing. 1.3. Describe the potential benefits and limitations associated with communicating with customers in writing. Mr. Culler has just received a letter inviting him to a conference in London. Mr. Culler has been expecting the letter as the organisation hosting the event recently advertised in a regional newspaper. Mr. Culler checks his diary. He has a space available for the event, so adds it to his diary. Mr. Culler then emails his colleague, Mr. Green, outlining his eagerness to proceed with the booking. He asks Mr. Green if he has received an invitation, as Mr. Green is also on their mailing list. Mr. Culler continues with his day ahead and forgets about the email to Mr. Green. Later that week, Mr. Culler books himself into the conference and reserves a room in the closest hotel. He then rings Mr. Green. The call goes through to his voicemail. So Mr. Culler leaves a message stating that if he wants to attend the conference, he needs to book before the end of the day to secure a place. Within minutes, Mr. Culler receives a phone call from Mr. Green. They quickly realise from the conversation that Mr. Green didn't receive an invitation. Mr. Green also explains that he hasn't had time to check his emails, so did not know about the conference until he received the voicemail. Mr. Culler makes it clear to Mr. Green that he needs to ring the conference company quickly to ensure he secures a place. Mr. Green is unfortunately too late in his application and is informed by the conference manager at the event. Deflated by this outcome, Mr. Green logs a complaint with the company's head office via telephone call. The staff member introduces himself as Mr. Contact. Mr. Contact informs Mr. Green that the invitation was sent out a week ago. Mr. Green is surprised by this. Mr. Contact verifies Mr. Green's address details and confirms that everything is correct. Mr. Contact explains that the letter may be lost in the post. Mr. Green agrees. Mr. Contact suggests that in the future Mr. Green could receive the information via email. Mr. Green says that would be a great benefit and requests that he implement the changes. A couple of days later, Mr. Green received the missing invitation through the post. Summary: having excellent writing skills in an organisation is essential, since written communication represents the company's image just as much as team members and products. So having the ability to transfer that dedication your organisation offers through a written format will only promote your company's image. More often than not, written communication is considered to be appropriate within the business industry, as it provides a more permanent record, consequently allowing the customer the time they need to reflect and review any correspondence. This is usually the case with legal documentation such as contracts. Having a contract written up is binding, which ensures that your business is protected and your customers can act only in the best interest set out in your agreement. For example, if you require payment from a customer within the set time frame, then having a contract that verifies payment dates could reduce the risk of dispute. Written communication provides certainty for all involved, and it's easy to rely on in comparison to someone's word. It's a hard copy of documented proof. From a customer's point of view, written communication can be frustrating, as sometimes they just need that immediate response. For example, a customer is not allowed to obtain a credit card until he has signed and delivered the agreement, even though the credit card company have agreed terms in principle. Other limitations that might even hinder the credit card being received quickly is that the customer doesn't understand the terminology being used in the terms. This could end up being costly and time-consuming for the organisation. Or, in Mr. Green's situation, letters sent out to customers could end up delayed or lost in the post, resulting in customers missing a deadline.